belt squat, lumbar spine, continuous tension. So I've just got a belt here, sort of weight belt with a kettlebell. If you happen to have a belt squat machine at the gym where you train, assuming you train at a gym, obviously you can just set this up with a belt squat. But all we're going to do is I want to get my torso into as horizontal a position as possible. So I've just got this bench here. I'm going to put this belt over, I'm going to put it over the space of my spine that I actually want to work on specifically. So for me, this is sort of that mid-lumbar, but you can come up to sort of that a little bit higher in that TL junction. You can even come up a little bit higher as far as you want to work on the space that you want. But assuming we're working on that sort of mid-lumbar section, all we're going to do here is we're going to get as horizontal as you can. So once again, I've just got the bench here. And then all I'm going to do is the sort of 3 or 4 vertebrae that the belt is sort of touching, I'm just going to go through extension here as much as I can, and then I'm going to go through flexion as much as I can. Now, if you think about this from like a cat-cow perspective or even a hinge point training perspective, you're not going to get a lot of movement because we're only moving 3 or 4 vertebrae, but I want to actively get into as much extension as you can and then push up into as much flexion as you can, just with the section of this spine that you're working on, down into extension, up to flexion, and you're moving through this in a nice, slow, controlled. So once I get from flexion, I'm not dropping down to extension, I'm controlling it through extension, flexion, extension, trying to keep the rest of your spine out of it, just moving the vertebrae that you're trying to use, and use the feeling of this for that sort of tactile cueing so you know the parts. And you're literally just going to do this for time, to fatigue, or to failure, depending on what your program says. And this is just a way for us to use the smaller spine muscles that are controlling the vertebrae and to really focus on them and to get them working for time to build up the capacity there. So you would have already done the hinge point training, the cat-cows, the banded cat-cows, and those exercises. So think about what they feel like when you're activating the tissue that controls the vertebrae. They are the tissues that you're trying to use here. So as you start going through, if you're getting to a high level of fatigue or even to failure, if you start feeling the other muscles working instead of them, then that's your failure and that's where you're at. Because at some stage, when those little muscles stop working, your body's still going to keep going, it's just going to start using other tissues. So when you start feeling that has happened, then that is your exercise done. Anyway, enjoy.